With the latest TWAB, Bungie announced that weekly deep sight red border weapon focusing at the helm will be changed from weekly to daily, meaning that you can focus a red border from each vendor once a day for the rest of the season heading into Lightfall. I'll just put up the message from the TWAB on screen here, but I'll read it out for people that are just listening. So they said next week, which is January 31st, we're planning to deploy some new updates to help everyone complete their collections for this season. As I mentioned, deep sight weapons, red borders, focusing them at the helm will be adjusted to daily availability for the remainder of the season to help players craft those final weapons before Lightfall arrives. This will also apply to vendors offering guaranteed deep sight weapon focusing from season 16 to 18. So essentially, if you haven't crafted jack shit from the helm this season or the previous 3 seasons, starting from Witch Queen, this is your time to catch up now. So with that being said, here are my suggestions for must-have red borders to craft going into Lightfall. First up, Season of the Risen. In chronological order, we have Explosive Personality, a solar Waveframe GL. Now, just out the gate, Waveframe GLs are already great. I think, personally, they're better than Breach Launchers and Blinding Nades and all that. I think we've power creeped past that, and Waveframe GLs are just really, really good. We also only have 3 legendary ones in the game, so we have 4 variants, a raid one, which is hard to get for people, / people can't raid. Then we have Deafening Whisper, which is only obtainable in, I believe, like Zur sales or maybe dares. It's not in the loot pool in the world. Like, you're not going to get a prime and get a Deafening Whisper. And then we have this, Explosive Personality, easily craftable starting on Tuesday. It also rolls auto-loading holster in the 3rd column, which I think is best in slot, outside of maybe like field prep, but I think auto-loading is still better. And in the 4th slot, we have a bunch of damage perks. We have Golden Tricorn, Frenzy. We also have Disruption Break if you want to get fancy. So I think overall, a really, really good weapon. One of only 3 legendaries available, and this is by far the easiest. So I think you should pick it up. Next, we have Under Your Skin, the bow, also from Season of the Risen. So Under Your Skin is a void bow. There are only currently 2 void bows in the game, this and Imperial Needle. However, I think Under Your Skin has the advantage over Imperial Needle, as not only can it roll Archer's Tempo, but it can roll Explosive Head, which I personally think is the much better perk on having on a bow. Now, Imperial Needle can roll Archer's Tempo, yes, but its best perk in the 4th column, I think, is Frenzy. Frenzy's not the worst thing in the world, but I think having Explosive Head always on every single shot you ever take on a bow is much better for a primary than having to be in combat for 12 seconds on Frenzy and then having your bow do extra damage. So for that reason, I would recommend Under Your Skin. Also, obviously, Imperial Needle is not just something you can go farm somewhere as well. I think it also is not in the world loot pool anymore. So Under Your Skin as a void bow, if you don't already have one, I think is worth crafting for sure. Finally, we have Thoughtless, the sniper from Season of the Risen. Now, snipers really haven't seen much relevancy in terms of meta, at least for a while now. Outside of maybe Succession, because Bungie just doesn't want to promote camping back with snipers, which kind of is understandable, but at the same time, linears have just ruled everything for the last year. So Bungie plans to make a shakeup for at least the heavy meta, which means hopefully linears are tuned more and maybe snipers are buffed more, because like snipers have just been kind of sitting in the back of the bus for a while. So this is kind of a sleeper pick, but Thoughtless is a good alternate to Succession. If you can't farm Deepstone, you don't have the friends to farm it, or you don't have access to LFG, whatever it may be, this is your good alternate. Thoughtless can roll Overflow in the 3rd column, which I think is best in slot. And then for the 4th column, you can either go Focused Fury or Firing Line, depending if you're doing solo or team activity stuff. Either way, good solid sniper to have, at least if you don't have a Succession. Next up, Season the Haunted, the Crown of Sorrow. Let's get into it. So Callus Mini Tool has gone from one of the worst weapons ever invented in this game to being re-released to being one of the best primaries in the game. So for those of you that don't know, Callus Mini Tool can roll Incandescent, which instantly makes it a W weapon in my books, especially if you're using a solar build around it with Warlocks and Titans or Hunters using Solar 3.0. So Incandescent plus the 3rd column having either Unrelenting or Threat Detector for you is the go-to in my opinion. I think Unrelenting is underrated in that regard, just because with Incandescent you can easily get multi-kills and then have a healing factor going for yourself. Either way, Callus Mini Tool, extremely solid, definitely worth crafting, and borderline must-have going into Lightfall. Alright, elephant in the room. I'm not even gonna entertain the trolling idiots on the internet with this. Bump of the Night is a great rocket launcher. Is it the best? No. Is it going to be cataclysmic in DPS fights? No. Is it a turbo rocket? Absolutely not. Bump of the Night is very unique in the fact that it can roll a perk called Chill Clip, and given that we're getting changes in the Lightfall meta where champions will be affected by things like Chill Clip with freezing and shattering and stunning them, same reason why Riptide will be good, by the way. This gets another bump, get it? Alright, I'm going to leave now. But no, seriously, it gets a nice notch in its belt to be even better as a rocket going into Lightfall. And it also has roles like Demo, Tracking, Field Prep, Autoloading, and in the 4th column, on top of Chill Clip, you can roll Frenzy or Vorpal. And if you want to get silly with it, you can roll Chain Reaction as well, if you'd like. So overall, Bump is a really good rocket. Just because it's not number 1 doesn't mean you shouldn't craft it. So, seal recommendation for it. Go get it. Last recommendation for Haunted. I'm going to keep this one brief just because it's not like the most must-have thing in the world. Hollow Denial, I think, is a solid weapon to have if you have the time and the currency to get it. To craft it, I would. It has things like Repulsor Brace and Killing Tally in the 4th column, which I think are really, really solid. Repulsor Brace in particular because I think it has great synergy with Void 3.0 and gives you a giant overshield, which could be really helpful going into something like Day 1 Lightfall campaign. You never know. So again, if you can get this and you have the time, why not? Also, shout out to Adaptive Munitions on the gun as well. Really good for champion stuns if we have that for trace rifles in Lightfall. Alright, moving on. Alright, let's talk about Plunder. This season was terrible. Alright, jokes aside though, I just want to make a couple of honorary mentions. I don't think anything is a must-have in this season, honestly, for these weapons. But I did want to mention the Sidearm Brigand's Law, which I still think is a meme on Futurama for Brannigan's Law. Anybody else agree? And then the Scout Rifle as well. Both of these are fine weapons. They're not like god tier. They're not trash. They're middle of the road, and they can roll some decent perks, namely like a Volt Shot. The Sidearm can also roll a bunch of other stuff that maybe comes with synergy, like Demo, Surrounded. Maybe Pugilist comes into play at some point in Lightfall for melee builds. That's also an option. And that's pretty much it. Like, these two weapons are pretty good. Not anything crazy. Just wanted to make an honorable mention, mostly because Plunder was just, I think, the worst season, we can all agree, for this year in Witch Queen. Now for the main course, Robocop himself. So, the Exoframe, Season of Seraph. This guy has plenty of good weapons. A whole Santa bag's worth. Let's just get started. From the top, Icolos weapons. Just being upfront with you, only one worth crafting, Icolos SMG. The other ones are either underwhelming or they're just terrible. Icolos hand cannon. But if you're a collector or whatever and you want to just have all of them, be my guest. However, the only real recommendation for Icolos I'm going to give is definitely Icolos SMG. It has great perks, such as having Volt Shot or even Frenzy if you feel like it, but I think Volt Shot is by far the best in PvE. Also has Surrounded to add to that as well. But you can also use this weapon in PvP as well, and it just shreds. For example, it can roll Rangefinder, Killing Wind, Threat Detector, Feeding Frenzy, Perpetual Motion, and so on. So it's just a versatile weapon overall. Great to have in both PvE and PvP, so there's no reason to not craft it. Going to Lightfall, 100% recommendation. For Seraph weapons, let's just get the meme out of the way. Retrofit Escapade. Yes, it was nerfed, unfortunately. It would no longer just shred through every single boss in the game like it's on a coffee break. However, despite the nerf to volatile rounds, the weapon itself is still very solid. Target lock as a perk on it is really, really good. It's unique to this season. Not many weapons have it. In fact, I think this is the only weapon that has target lock that's even close to good, opposed to the other ones like having it on an SMG, for example. So I think Retrofit as an LMG, as an add-clear weapon, is still very, very good. The only other weapon that can match this in Void, I think, is Commemoration, which is in Deepstone Crypt, which, like I mentioned earlier, not everyone can raid and farm for that weapon for various reasons. So as a Void LMG, I think it's still worth picking up. I still think the volatile rounds portion for this is very good. It's not game-breaking, and it's not going to, you know, make the Templar give us his lunch money anymore. But add clear, still really good. Target lock, very, very good also. And I still think you should pick it up. Next up is Judgment of KELGORATH. I'm not even going to waste time telling you guys how many perks this thing has. I'm going to get straight to the point. This is worth picking up just on its own for Close to Melee, the new perk that this glaive can roll this season that other glaives cannot. Close to Melee is hilariously stupid fun, especially on a Syntheseps Titan. You may have seen my video where I just meme a ton of bosses with just Synthos and poking them with this glaive. It's really, really fun. It has great damage output. It's probably going to do wonders in the Lightfall campaign, I imagine, for Titans. So I think this is definitely at the top of must-have seasonal weapons going into Lightfall. Amazing glaive. Alright, for the final two, let's just do some lightning round. Path of Least Resistance, Trace Rifle, Arc, really, really good. Can roll things like Subsistence, Adaptive Munitions, Shoot to Loot. In the fourth column, it has One for All, Dragonfly, Focus Fury, and Volt Shot. I think any combination of these is really, really solid. I think I'd still go with Subsistence Volt Shot for the God roll, me personally. But you can't really go wrong with this Trace Rifle. It is really solid, and I think still the only Arc legendary trace that we have in the game, so that's also a bonus. Speaking of Arc, TRIPWIRE CANARY. Basically, a clone of Arsenic Bite. Arsenic Bite used to be the God roll bow in the game for, I don't know, several years, because every other bow was just absolute jank. And this bow can roll pretty much the same thing that Arsenic did. It can roll a Dragonfly Explosive together. It can roll Archer's Tempo Explosive, which I think is the God roll. Hell, you can go Rapid Hit, and you can go Frenzy if you'd like, but I personally still think Explosive Head is better. Now, I do want to mention the last two Seraph weapons as like kind of an honorary mention, not really must-haves, but still decent in their slot. Disparity is a solid pulse, especially in PvP, that you can use. And then Fire and Forget, the linear. While not being a bad linear, there's two main reasons why I don't think it's going to be a must-have, quote-unquote. So, one, obviously linears are probably going to get hit in the dirt going into Lightfall, as Bungie said they're going to change the heavy meta. And the other reason being it's just lacking behind other better linears, such as Reed's, Cataclysmic, Taipan, Storm Chaser, etc. So, it's not the best linear, it's not the worst linear, it's just kind of middle of the road. If you have the time to get it, go ahead, sure, why not? But in that, it's just like an honorary mention in this list. And that concludes the list for quote-unquote must-haves going into Lightfall. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope the recommendations helped. If you did enjoy, like, share, subscribe. It does help the channel. Also, stream daily on Twitch. Link in the description for that below. And also, let me know in the comments below what you think of this list. What do you want to save? What do you plan to save? What do you think is not worth saving? Etc. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. Alright, catch you later. Goodbye.